Welcome everyone, it's Deborah here again from sunny Spain with another Dichroic pendant video. Today we're going to make pendants similar to these with holes in the middle using a microwave kiln. You can of course use a normal kiln, and we're not using moulds for these either. And stay tuned to the end because I have a couple of surprise pendants for you. A success and an absolute complete disaster, which I think you'll enjoy seeing. So if you want to see how I get on, keep watching. So you may or may not have produced pendants in a microwave kiln using a cookie cutter. This is a different slant on using cookie cutters, so if you haven't used cookie cutters before, then it will cover that as well. If you have used them before, then this will give you a different way of using them. So this is a twofold video in effect. So I have my microwave kiln base, I have some thin fire paper, and I have some scrap glass. So the first thing I'm going to do is fix the thin fire paper around what is going to be the centerpiece of my pendant. Now I found the easiest way to get this to actually stay in place is by adding some glass tack glue. It like dampens the thin fire more than actually glues it, which enables it to stick together and keep in shape. So all you've got to do is just to make sure that your thin fire paper is right down to the base of the cookie cutter for when you put it on the shelf, because you don't want the glass sticking to the cookie cutter at the base. So I've got my glue, my paper overlaps slightly so that you've got an edge to stick to the base of the paper, and I just add it on here, and you don't need a lot, and you'll find that that sticks it nicely. So that's the centerpiece of my pendant, which is going to create the hole in the middle, and I'm just going to surround that now with any old scrap glass that I've got. And pushing it as close as I can to the cookie cutter. It doesn't have to be exactly close up to it, because when it melts it will butt up against the cookie cutter. So I've tipped it all out onto a piece of paper. It just makes life a lot easier, and I don't want these big pieces. You want fairly small pieces, not huge pieces, you know, small. When I say small to some people is different to small to other people, I suppose, but you can see from this video the sort of size of pieces that I'm using. So I'm just going to quickly layer those around, and then I'll get back to you when I've done that. So you can use any old bits, dichroic, ordinary glass, tiny bits if you want to, if you've got a pot full of tiny bits, which I'm about to do. Someone commented in the forum to say there's no such thing as scrap glass because you can use it all, and I guess, yeah, that's right. It's not scrap, it's just your next beautiful pendant that you're going to make. So I thought that was quite an interesting comment. And you just want to make sure you've got enough that, because it will shrink obviously to reach 6mm, or it will spread out to reach 6mm if you've got it higher than that. So you just need to judge how much to put round, because it will go to 6mm because we're going to full fuse. If you haven't quite got enough pieces there, it will just mean you'll have a thin pendant by the time it's pulled in. If you've got too many there, it will be a thick pendant, so it's not going to be a disaster. See, I'm going to put that in my microwave kiln now for 11 minutes because I know that that's what will give me a full fuse. Everyone's microwave is going to be different, and this is when I microwave from cold. Everything is cold. It hasn't been used for 24 hours, which is important. Because when you're using your microwave kiln, if it's still got a bit of heat in it, either in the actual microwave kiln or the microwave, then it is going to affect your time slightly. So this is it, how it's come out of the kiln, exactly how it's come out. So you need to take off your cookie cutter and wash off any kiln wash. And that's it, I've washed the kiln wash off. Needs a bit of cold working because I obviously had it piled up a little bit too much on the one side. But that centre hole is absolutely perfect, and that's going to be lovely when I've finished with it, which I'll show you shortly. So for the next one, I decided to use 2 cookie cutters so I could control the shape of the outside of the pendant as well as creating the hole in the middle. And for this one, I'm going to give it a black base and I'm going to use Dichroic. The other one had a mixture of Dichroic and bullseye, but I want to create a nice blingy piece for this one. So again, cut your strips of thin fire paper and we're going to line the inside of the outer cookie cutter and the outside of the inner cookie cutter. In other words, the sides that are going to touch the glass. And again, just overlap it slightly and make sure that it's flush with the bottom when you put it back on your kiln shelf. A little bit of glue to hold it in place. And line the inside of the outer one in the same way. So place it on the kiln shelf, making sure that the paper is right down to the bottom, and carefully place the inner one exactly where you want it in the centre. And I'm going to give this a black base to show off the nice Dichroic on top using frit. We're going to take the frit now and carefully fill in the gap between the inner and outer cookie cutters. Obviously they will move slightly, but they don't move easily. And I'm holding them down as I tip the frit in there. So I'll just speed up this bit. Right, so that's filled. Next stage is to pick what bits of Dichroic you want to put in there. So I'm going to use black backed scrap Dichroic, hence why I've put the black base down so that it looks smooth black from the bottom, rather than if you just put bits of scrap black Dichroic in there, it's going to be like a patchwork effect on the bottom of the pendant. You'll have seen me do this when I do my moulds. I've explained that there too. And I'm going to top it with some clear scrap Dichroic on top, so we have double Dichroic bling. And I'm going to carefully place the pieces in between the cookie cutters. You're obviously only going to be able to use small amounts of glass in there, and you will find that because you've got that base of black in there already, that it will pretty much hold the cookie cutters in place, so they won't move too much. And however much you put in there, because it's actually restricted, the pendant can't spread out. That's the thickness you're going to get of your pendant, to a minimum of 6mm. Obviously, if you haven't got much in there, it will still pull up into 6mm and you will lose your shape. So make sure you have at least 6mm in there. And now I'm putting my top layer of clear Dichroic on top of the Dichroic that I put on the bottom. And I've speeded up this bit again. Okay, that's done. And here is a close-up of what it looks like. So again, that's going in my microwave kiln for 11 minutes. This is the next day, so it's all cold again. Or you can do it in your normal kiln on a full fuse. This is it out of the kiln. But just before we look at this, I want to show you the previous pendant now that I've ground it on the grinder, giving it a nicer shape, as you can see. And I'm going to put that back in on a fire polish in my kiln. But to get back to this one, let's take these cookies off, cutters off even. So the outside ones come off lovely. The little one got a little bit stuck, a little spike of glass was just holding it on, but it's come off after a little wiggling. So off for a wash, and this is what it looks like. So yeah, that's looking nice. I'm going to give it a little bit of a grind. It's got a few spiky bits on, and probably fire polish it again. It's only on the back, on the black, so it's not too bad. So that gave me an idea to do another one. I just happen to have all these cookie cutters, which I got when I was doing silver clay glass, I think. And I've got different size of these teardrops. So I'm going to do the same, putting this little teardrop inside the big teardrop. So we have a teardrop holy pendant. And I'm going to use the same method as before. So I'll just go through this quickly and show you the finished piece. Just to say, I've decided to put some lovely pink opal as a base, like we did with black before. I think I'm going to do this as a base this time. Which I've now done, and I'm going to put some colour coordinated, very thin bits of scrap glass on the top. And now I'm going to cap it with some fine clear frit. And that's that done. I'm just clearing the bits away, and then that's going to go in for its 11 minutes in my microwave kiln. Rubbish come off the side there. I don't know if it's, perhaps it's not stainless steel, I don't know, it's hard to tell if you don't buy it, if you haven't bought anything that's got the label on it. That's come out nicely from that one, very loose, and that's come out nicely from that one, so quite pleased with that. I'll just go and give that a wash and then come back. I'm loving it. It's so delicate, and there's the pink. So you could even have it that way if you wanted, if you just wanted a plain pink one. I haven't got to do anything with that. I haven't got to grind it or anything. I can just add a bail on there if I want, or what the option that you can have with all of these, if you don't want to put a bail on, is to which might look nice. These are like felt, bought a while ago. And they did come in all different colours, so they were quite nice because you could get a colour that complemented the colour of the pendant. Or so we've got black leather, well, fake leather. These are the ones that I use, which are the like silvery grey, or these are a little bit softer, so these might work better. So what you can do if you don't want to put a bail on is just loop these through and create a different effect using different coloured, different textured necklaces, cords, thongs, whatever you want to call them, and they're very cheap to buy online as well. So just fold it in half in the centre, put it round the pendant and feed through the rest of the cord, and then when it opens out on the neck it will hold it in place and creates quite a nice shape. Or alternatively, you can use a nice chain and do the same with a chain, thread it through, pass the rest of the chain through, and again when it opens out and it's actually on your neck, it just sits there nicely. And of course there are several different designs of chains to create a different effect for each pendant. And this is how those three pendants look. I've put a cord on one, a chain on the other, and a bail on the third. And with this one I thought you could even use it as a scarf ring. Certainly there's lots of nice colours in this, so it would go with a multitude of outfits. So it's quite nice to have the hole in the middle because it does give you some other options, and you don't have to use the bail if you don't want to. And you could also even wire wrap it. There's lots of wire wrapping tutorials on the internet, which I'm sure could be adapted to these pendants. So doing these gave me an idea of some other styles that you could do in your microwave kiln or ordinary kiln. So I'm just going to quickly show you those as well. So this one I made, I thought it'd be nice to have some clear with coloured glass at the top, coloured glass at the bottom and clear in the middle. And it's come out really nice. You can really see the different depth in those pieces that you've put in there. Well, you can't see it as good on camera, to be perfectly honest, as in person, as it were, but it is absolutely lovely. And I just did that with the two oval shaped cutters, just offset the inside one slightly so I got a thicker piece at the bottom, and into my microwave kiln, and that's come out nicely. And then that gave me another idea to make this shape just in black or any colour, but I did black, and then to put some dots that we made in previous videos on top, which I thought would make a nice pendant as well. But it was just so good, a good way to have this shape to start off with, because how otherwise would you have done that shape? Unless you've got a Taurus saw whereby you could cut the centre out, it would be difficult to get that shape to start off with. By using this method, it enables you to create a pendant shape with a hole in the centre as a base for then making other different types of pendants. So I quickly set up my dots in a pattern just on my cutting board before placing them on the black base, but I turned the black base over so that I'd got the flat side to put the dots on, otherwise the top of it was rounded after the full fuse, which I didn't want. And unfortunately this is how it turned out. So what happened? Well, when it was fusing, you know, the top of the base, well, anything that you fuse, it wants to round at the top, doesn't it? And because the base wasn't wide enough to support the dots, as the glass started to move and round, the dots fell off the side, which was a bit of a shame. And also I lost the footage which showed the dots when they were actually just glued onto the base. So all in all, a complete disaster. However, at the same time of making the blue one, I did this one in shades of red and bronze, and this shows a little bit of footage of them glued onto the base ready to fuse. And this is it after fusing, and because the base was wider, it enabled the dots to stay on. They have moved slightly, but at least they've stayed on, and it's created quite a nice pendant. And this was fused at exactly the same time as the blue one, so I know it's the base that's caused the problem. And just as a reminder, that's the other one that I did using the same cookie cutters. Well, thank you for joining me on this video. Hope you enjoyed this as well. Hope it's given you some ideas. I'm sure a lot of you out there will have much more artistic ways of doing it. I'll provide the methods for you of ideas that I come up with. I'm not particularly an arty person myself, so I perhaps don't do the best out of my ideas, but you know, we share our ideas between each other, and that's how we learn, isn't it? And if you've learnt something from this, then I'll be glad of that. And I hope you'll like and subscribe my videos, because I have a lot more ideas, a lot more disasters to follow as well, no doubt. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video, which I'll get out as soon as I can. See you soon. Bye for now.